4.7 million years ago, the Earth was a place both beautiful and brutal. The skies over Africa stretched endlessly, an ocean of blue above rolling plains of grass that shimmered under the sun's heat. Herds of antelope grazed in the distance, their ears twitching at the slightest sound. Towering elephants moved slowly through scattered acacia trees, but predators watched from the shadows, lions, leopards, and the fearsome saber-toothed cats whose dagger-like fangs could pierce a skull with one bite. Life was a daily struggle, a test of speed, strength, and cunning. And somewhere in this wild theater of survival, small bands of upright walking primates began their journey, a journey that would one day transform the planet. They were fragile by nature. Their bodies were lean, their muscles built for climbing rather than fighting. They had no claws to tear flesh, no sharp teeth to defend themselves, no armor to protect against attack. Yet, despite these disadvantages, they carried within them the seeds of something extraordinary: adaptability. These early ancestors, the Australopithecines, had learned to live in more than one world. On the ground they could walk upright. In the trees they could still climb to safety. Standing on two legs gave them a new perspective. They could see over the tall grass, spot approaching predators earlier, and carry food or a child in their arms while moving. But every step in the open was dangerous. To cross the Savanna meant trusting your group, because a lone wanderer rarely lasted long. These communities were small, often fewer than 20 individuals, bound together by shared needs. They foraged for berries, dug up edible roots with sticks, and scavenged meat left behind by larger predators. They learned which plants were nourishing and which could kill. When danger came, the group moved as one, fleeing to the safety of trees, throwing stones, or using loud cries to startle attackers. In this, they found their first weapon: cooperation. Alone, they were vulnerable. Together, they were something more. Generations passed, and the land itself began to change. The forests receded, replaced by open grasslands. Food sources shifted, and new survival strategies were needed. Around 2.4 million years ago, a new figure appeared: Homo habilis, the handyman. These early humans were different. They had larger brains than their Australopithecine cousins, and with those brains came a new ability: the deliberate shaping of tools. Picking up a stone was not new, but striking one stone against another to create a sharp edge, that was revolutionary. With stone flakes, they could cut through the tough hides of animals, separate meat from bone, and scrape skins to make them more useful. They could break open bones to reach the nutrient-rich marrow inside, giving them precious calories that fueled further brain growth. It was not just about food, it was about possibility. Each time a hand shaped a tool, it was shaping the future. The simplest stone knife was the ancestor of every tool humanity would ever make, and with every tool came a little more control over their environment. These changes were slow, measured in countless lifetimes, but they were irreversible. A path had been set. Then 1.9 million years ago, the next great leap: Homo erectus. They were taller, stronger, with bodies built for walking long distances under the open sun. Their brains were larger still, and their minds carried a spark that would change the course of history: the mastery of fire. Fire was more than warmth. It kept predators away at night. It turned raw meat into tender, safer food, making digestion easier and freeing more energy for the brain. It allowed roots and plants that were once inedible to become food through cooking, and perhaps most importantly, it gave them the night. Around the fire, they could stay awake longer, interacting, planning, and sharing. This was where early culture took root, where bonds were strengthened, where young ones learned from elders, where ideas were passed on. Homo erectus was also a wanderer. They were the first to leave Africa, moving into Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. They adapted to new climates, new landscapes, new challenges. In colder lands, they learned to use animal skins for warmth. They hunted in coordinated groups, driving herds into traps or toward waiting hunters. They began to think ahead, to prepare not just for the present, but for seasons to come. Time moved on, and the Earth entered one of its most extreme phases, the Ice Ages. Vast glaciers advanced, reshaping continents, locking away oceans in frozen walls. Temperatures plunged, and survival demanded resilience. In Europe and Western Asia, the Neanderthals thrived in this frozen world. They were powerful, with thick bones and strong muscles. They made finely crafted tools, used spears to bring down massive animals like mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses, and built shelters to shield themselves from the cold. They wore clothing stitched from hides, and they buried their dead with care, sometimes with flowers or tools as if honoring their memory. This was a sign of something deeply human, empathy, and perhaps a sense of life beyond life. Meanwhile, in Africa, a new kind of human was emerging, Homo sapiens. Around 300,000 years ago, our direct ancestors stepped into the world. They were not as physically powerful as the Neanderthals, but they had something else. Minds capable of complex language, symbolic thought, and creativity, unlike anything before. They could not just respond to the world. They could imagine it differently. They could plan elaborate hunts, coordinate over long distances, and pass down lessons not just through demonstration, but through words. Language allowed knowledge to accumulate, to be stored in minds and shared across generations. By 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had spread far and wide. In Europe, they painted breathtaking images on cave walls, bison charging across stone, horses galloping in ochre and charcoal. In Africa, they engraved shells and bones with intricate patterns. In Asia, they carved statues and beads. They made flutes from bird bones, filling the air with music. This explosion of art and culture wasn't about survival in the strictest sense. It was about identity, about leaving a mark, about saying, we were here, we thought, we felt. Over thousands of years, humans reached every corner of the globe. They crossed into Australia, braving open seas. They moved into the Americas, hunting great beasts like the mastodon and giant sloth. They domesticated dogs to hunt and guard. Then came farming, the slow, deliberate cultivation of plants, the taming of animals like sheep and cattle. Farming changed everything. Villages formed, then towns, then cities. Trade routes connected distant lands. Writing captured stories, laws, and history. Civilizations rose, shaping the earth to human needs. And yet, even now, traces of our earliest days remain within us. The way we gather around a fire or share a meal, the way children learn through play and imitation, the way we tell stories, these are echoes of the survival strategies of our ancestors. We carry their instincts, their curiosity, their need to belong. We began as prey, not predators. We were small, slow, and vulnerable, but we learned to stand tall, to think deeply, to imagine boldly. We shaped the world, and the world shaped us. Every step, every breath, every word we speak carries the memory of millions who came before, who faced hunger and danger, who adapted and endured so we could be here now. And here we stand, the most dominant species the planet has ever seen, but with dominance comes responsibility. The challenges we face today are not the same as those faced by Australopithecus or Homo erectus. We no longer fear saber-toothed cats, but we face threats of our own making. Climate change, dwindling resources, technology advancing faster than our wisdom. The same adaptability that helped us survive the past will decide whether we survive the future. 4.7 million years ago, on an African plain, a creature took its first uncertain steps on two legs. Every step since has led us here, to cities lit by a million lights, to spacecraft exploring distant worlds, to ideas and dreams that reach beyond the stars. But the question remains, where will we step next? Our future is not yet written. It will be shaped, as it always has been, by the choices we make, the tools we build, and the stories we pass to those who come after.